Hello, everyone. You are listening to the C Squared podcast hosted by Ghost Cult Magazine. We are here today with Etienne of Alpha Bootis. He is a music extraordinaire, does a lot of different things, has his hands in a lot of different projects. He's going to go over some of them with us today. We're really excited to have him. And first, I just want to say thank you for joining us today.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of the podcast, so it's quite great to be on.
Well, thank you. We do try our best over here. It may not be the best, but we do try our best.
That's all that matters.
And so for those that are, new to you and new to what you do, why don't you just give them like a brief introduction, the nutshell version of all of the different things you're working on right now?
Sure. So I'm primarily a composer, musician. So I work with bands like Alpha Bootis, which is a synthwave heavy metal band. I played bass in a band called Diplomat, with plays like grunge music. And I'm in a few other projects that are not announced yet. I also run a blog called Synthwave Montreal, where I talk about synthwave music and adjacent styles of music. I do reviews. I'm going to start doing interviews at some point, but not yet. And I'm also, I do live streams where I interview people about science fiction and pop culture and art with Galina Rin from the band Death and Gloria. That show is called Sci-Fi Hi-Fi. That's pretty much it. I also kind of do marketing for my dad's business, but that's my day job. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, nobody likes the day jobs. They're never fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Etienne, let's talk about Alpha Bootis for a second here. Can you kind of go over what it is and the concept, because it's different?
Yeah, so we like to call our music space disco synth metal because that kind of ties in all that we do. It started as a synthwave project and it kind of ballooned into a full band. So we do kind of progressive metal with synthesizers, and all our songs are like part of a giant science fiction story that we're writing. So we like to, write really tropey sci-fi narratives and then turn them into power metal stuff or synthwave stuff. It's musically it's all over the place, but it's kind of, when you listen to it, it feels like a whole. So we've been going for 5 years now. It's going great.
Are you guys can you kind of explain if it's the concept that comes first or the music that comes first?
So it's usually the music that starts an idea, and then we write a song, and then the song gives us an idea for like a vibe that we want to make a story out of. And then we'll fill in the blanks with the story. So let's say I have like half a song written and I don't know where I'm going with the bridge. I'm going to fall back on the story and be like, okay, what's the character's feeling? And what do I want to say in the bridge with the story? So if it's like someone dies, then we'll go heavier. If it's, someone falls in love, we'll go lighter and brighter. So it's kind of music first, then concept, then music, and it goes back and forth.
And with you guys pulling in all these different genres and all these different styles, what would you say are your main sources of inspiration? Is it other bands, or is it like sci-fi movies, or is it a combination of both?
For the music, it's definitely bands. Bands like Coheed and Cambria, Devin Townsend Project, Daft Punk. Yeah, no, he's the best. Like Daft Punk is also a big inspiration, and all the synthwave greats like Perturbator, Carpenter Brut, Carbon Killer as well. But for the stories, it's like I read a lot of Isaac Asimov, a lot of Neil Gaiman, and this is where I draw my inspiration for the stories, and also like the news and philosophy. And I want to talk about a complex thing. Like transhumanism and turning into cyborgs, then I'll put that into a story so that it's fun to read.
Interesting. So moving along, so let's talk about the live stream that you do with so can you kind of go over what that is and how you kind of came up with it?
Yeah. So it's basically a talk show. It's similar to this podcast here, except we do it live.
Yep.
And we do that every Wednesday night, UK time. So it's Wednesday afternoon for me in Canada. And we talk for we invite someone that has science fiction influences in their music. We've had guests like Taylor from Murloc. We'd had last week we had Amos from Tesseract, and we had Alpha Chromeo the week before, who's like a synth musician from Belfast. And we talk about pop culture, science fiction, their creative process, and all that stuff. We go on some wild tangents about random things as well for 2 hours, which is pretty great. So it's live on Death and Gloria's Twitch channel, Death_Ingloria on Twitch.
Yep.
And Sci-Fi Hi-Fi came about because Rin and I are in the music marketing mixer that you're one of the admins of. And someone was talking, I don't remember who that is, about making a fantasy themed live stream with a bunch of musicians who discuss their inspiration to kind of promote their bands.
Yep.
And Galina, Dan Maroney from Grama Vedetta, and I had the idea of let's make that thing, but for science fiction, because we don't talk about fantasy, we talk about science fiction. And we did one, the three of us. It went really well. And then Galina and I figured, well, let's keep going. Let's invite someone else next week and be co-hosts and do this. It's been running for almost 6 months now. Well, 4. Yeah, 4. We're booked for 6 months, but that's another story. Mm-hmm. And yeah, last week was our highlight. We got Amos from Tesseract, which is one of the musicians I looked up to as a teenager. So that was great.
Nice. So just to follow up just on it, can you kind of go over what the format is? Because you guys do a lot.
Yeah. So we start by introductions, like comic book one of whoever we're interviewing, and then we talk about their music, which are their favorite science fiction writers, books, movies, where they draw inspirations from. And then we have a segment at the end where we ask random questions to test if they're a replicant or not, for Blade Runner's fans out there.
Fantastic.
It's really fun. And we also, since we're doing that live on Twitch, we have viewers asking questions, commenting on, this is my favorite book by that writer. What do you think about it? And going back and forth like that, which creates a very fun discussion. It reminds me of what happens at shows when you're just 12 random people who don't know one another, who start talking about your favorite Megadeth song or whatnot, but we do that online. And we do giveaways, we give away Bandcamp codes or t-shirts when people subscribe to the show as a way to give back, because we're not making that to make money. If not, we would be failing. So we just like to give back to our community that way.
Awesome.
Usually go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're the guest, so you go ahead.
Usually lasts 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. Sometimes we go for 3 when it's really we're in the groove. We've done shorter ones as well when time is an issue. So
and I have a slightly off-topic question, but is still on topic. So you guys have all of these sci-fi influences and all of these different books that you read and all this story that goes into your music. Is there any kind of a plan for either a novel or a comic or something that accompanies one of your albums, like what Starset did with their Transmissions album, or something like that? Because I think that would be super awesome, and now I totally want one now that I'm asking about it.
Not only is there a plan, we're actually writing it. So for the album we have coming out in July or maybe August. Well, it'll depends on the whims of PR and
August,
whatever.
August.
Probably August. Okay.
September.
So we have that album is kind of a fake movie. So each song has a little like the kind of text you'd find at the back of a DVD that kind of draws you into the story. And then but for the next album that is already written, we have like 17 songs. It's like a huge space opera with, you know, characters and love arcs and deaths and redemption arcs and all that stuff. And we're teaming up with two of our good friends who are writers, and we're literally like building a story, and the songs are like parts of the story, and then you have like the connective tissue behind between them that is the kind of novels. We're doing novels, poems, and like theater stuff. Like we're gonna play out scenes on a podcast. So it's gonna be the whole Alpha Bootis cinematic universe thing. But yeah, at some point I want to do like a stage musical, a book, like a novel, a comic book, and a movie. But I'll never have the money for the movie.
Hey, that's what like crowdfunding is for, or investors.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't pay for that yourself.
Yeah.
And so back to the podcast. Oh nope, he has a follow-up.
I just wanted a quick follow-up on that, because I knew you were going to go on to another one. Just on that, so you're planning on doing a musical and a movie and a book and a comic if you can get funding for it. So if you're okay, so is this like you're looking at doing this in a few years if you can, or is this like more closer to now if you can find the funding? Because I never knew about this. That's why I current off. Sorry.
So I'd say the order is I want to do that album, and then all of the stories that are like accompanying the album, we're probably going to end up having like 150 pages of story. We're already at like 50 pages, and we've been writing for a couple of months only. So we'll probably do the album and then like a proper book. And then once that is working, I'll probably see if we can make like a low-key stage musical, because I have experience working in musical theater, and as such I know a lot of people who do. And our singer is also like, he studied theater in school, and he's a classical singer, so he knows how to put on a show. So yeah, the idea would be like album, book, and then stage musical. The movie will probably end up be like more like a web series or something at the beginning, but like those are all, you know, bucket list items that we have for the future of the band, because we have so much that we want to tell with that band. We have so much fun doing it, so we're just going to keep going until it stops being fun. Yep. And then we probably will keep going for 3 more years to rake it in and then stop.
To rake it in. But I love it.
And then so back to the podcast, how has that been for promoting Alpha Bootis, and what are some other ways that you've, you know, promoted the project that other people might be able to employ on their own?
So I'd say the talk show is not a very good promotional tool to get new fans, but it's definitely very good to network and collaborate with other creators. And I feel like at some point it's going to start becoming good, because, you know, we're getting more and more viewers, or like at least a stable viewership from episode to episode. And we're connecting with you know, more established guests. So at some point it's gonna do good. The one thing I think it's really good for is just making us feel more legit than we actually are. You know, it's like you have your own talk show. It feels like a big deal. And it's also very fun to do. So I would recommend people who like are good, if you're good to talk, you know, talking with people, asking interesting questions, and doing the bare minimum to get good sound and good video, I'd recommend it. Live streaming as a whole has been very good for our band, because our drummer, Tall Matt, has like 1,400 Twitch followers. He streams 3 or 4 times a week playing video games, rhythm games. And so that community of streamers has been very good for us, because they like the same things we do. They like the same games. They like the same universes. So they are, when Matt talks about our music on his stream, people listen, and we get tons of new fans that way. And and we've tied that in by doing a stream. Like Alpha Bootis plays video games every Monday on a stream. We've been playing Among Us recently with our fans. Eventually we're going to transition maybe into like a role-playing game, or something like Dungeons and Dragons, but science fiction. Nice. But that takes more work.
Spaceships and aliens?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Spaceship, eldritch horrors, and aliens. Yes. So yeah, that as a whole, like the Twitch community that our drummer built has been very good for us. But if all you want is to promote your band, don't do that, because it takes like 3 years of spending 4 nights a week streaming to get to that point. And so it's almost like it's not a side hustle, it's a whole other career. But then again, I know some streamers who've gotten record deals out of their Twitch following, so it might be worth it. But yeah, the weekly community stream for the band has been very good for promotion. For example, this Monday, we have a song that premieres Sunday, and Monday we're going to do like a listening party on our stream. But it's only one song, so we're going to listen to it like 2 times, and then we're going to play games. So we keep people's attention, and it becomes like a mini event. I hope that answers your question. I can ramble on and on.
No, it definitely does. And Curtis definitely has his follow-up face on, so I'm going to let him follow up.
I definitely do. So just with the track, can you kind of go over the concept of the track? Because I thought it was kind of an interesting concept that you have.
Yeah, so the song is called Jump to Alpha Bootis. It is the title track of the band. It's the first song we wrote. Frack, my co-writer, wrote that before I was involved and before it was a band. And during the pandemic, we couldn't play live shows, but we had like rehearsed the crap out of these songs to play live shows. And we're like, let's not waste that. They sound so much better now than they did 4 years ago when I was very bad at producing. So we decided to basically redo our old song, but now that we're a band and not just an electronic duo. Mm-hmm. So we're bringing drums, guitars, saxophone, bass, to make it like as big as we can. And the story of that song is, it's a fictional movie, and it's a crew that escapes, well, not escape, they leave Earth trying to find a new planet, and they end up like they get attacked by like an evil doctor who doesn't want humanity to leave Earth because we're all doomed and blah blah blah. And then they activate their hyperdrive, and it takes them into the far future. And then the story will unfold in the following tunes, and we'll see all the shenanigans they get up to in the far future. So yeah, it was really fun for us to go back to our roots, and take these songs that we've released them in 2017, but since then we've adapted them to our lineup when we play them live. So they sound a lot more metal when we play them live, because there's guitars involved and stuff. And it felt weird for the crowd, because they'd listen to the record and then come live and it would be 2 different bands. So we're kind of setting that record straight now. Plus I think they're killer tunes, of course.
Of course. So just as a last follow-up just on the song, so where is it going to be premiered tomorrow?
Oh yeah. Yes, my promotion hat on. So we're premiering on V13, which is quite a big Canadian blog. I'm really hyped for it. Like it's like one of the few sites I had on my list of like, it feels good to be premiered on them.
Awesome.
So, because like they're one of the sites I read a bit growing up as a teenager when I got into metal. So yeah, it's going to be premiering Sunday the 25th, which is maybe tomorrow if you're listening to this today, or yesterday. I don't know. Podcasts are weird. So the 25th, we're premiering that, and then it's going to be released on the 27th to Bandcamp, and then the week after on Spotify and all the rest, because we love Bandcamp. Bandcamp has been good for us, so we always give Bandcamp a bone by having everything drop on Bandcamp before. And yeah, it's our first time working with a professional mixer. So instead of being me struggling for hours to get the sound right, we got a pro to do it, and it sounds amazing. So we're really hyped.
I agree.
That is super exciting. And so I know you do the podcast and you do the games and the listening parties and everything. What are some other ways that you have promoted your project that others might be able to, you know, employ, some other strategies that you've got for promoting?
One of the strategies that has been the best reward for effort I've done was make playlists with a bunch of relevant artists. I took that strategy from Jesse Cannon, great guy for everything marketing and promotion related. He really has insights that nobody else has them, and then everybody has them the week after his videos come out, because everybody's copying him. So the idea is I picked, like, for our last EP that we released with Curtis doing the promo, we had an instrumental song called Plasmic Wastes of Alkyl Erupts, and I just put that with like a bunch of instrumental, you know, epic metal and synthwave music. I picked like 20 artists, make a nice flowing playlist, and then I post that on all our socials, tagging every band. And the kicker here is not like that playlist got like 30 follows and got us like 60 listens. So that's good. But the kicker is that 3 of these artists reciprocated and put us into their playlists. And one of them had a big playlist called Synthwave for the Soul. And that playlist has been getting us like 30 listeners a day since December. Wow. So it's her first song that cracked the 1,000 plays on Spotify. It's like at 1,600 right now, which is like a quarter of all our plays, because it was on that bigger playlist, which is like, it's a playlist that has 3,000 followers. It's not an editorial playlist or a big blog or whatnot. It's a very small scale playlist, but it just shows that if you get on these very active playlists with a user base that keeps coming back, it rewards you. And I didn't do it out of, you know, I wasn't expecting that someone would do that. I'm going to do a cool playlist with musicians I think people should listen to. And I've been doing that for every of our song. That's the only time it's really blown up, but every time it works kind of well. It does a very good social media post because all of the bands, you know, comment, thank you, blah, 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 oh, sick ass tune. And then, and our fans have something cool to listen to as well. So that's the one. The other has been, so it's still live streaming, but a different kind of live streaming. When I have the time, I do music production live stream. So I'm either working on songs for the band live on Twitch and I explain my process, or I'll ask other artists if they can send me the multi-tracks of their recordings and I do remixes for them. So I did a remix for a couple of bands so far, local Montreal bands at the start of the pandemic. And that's just, you know, great collaboration. It takes me like 2 or 3 days to make one of these tracks. Then I send them to like the artist. They're happy. They post it on their socials, blah, blah, blah. And I have like a long list of people I want to get to. Like I want to do White Crone. I want to do Ghost Bound. I want to do Achiavel if I can get them to agree, wink, wink. And I do like the way I do that for fun, but it's good content for my channels because my friends and fans like to see me work, and it's good content for the other bands. So it's like an olive branch as well. You know, I always try to find, you know, what do I want? What do the other people want? And how can we both get that while having fun?
One thing I just want to point out, just in regards with the playlist, I want Corey to talk about this for a second, because Achiavel did do something similar, but it wasn't like a playlist they made, but they tagged some bands. Corey, you just want to go over that?
Yeah, so I've been telling Achiavel to do something similar to what you do with the making of the playlists, but also sharing all of the playlists that they get added to, and tagging the bands that are on those. And if you can't fit all of the tags because there's, you know, a limit on some of the channels, tagging a mixture of big ones and small ones. And one of the playlists that they were on actually ended up being shared by Carnifex.
Oh, nice.
From that tagging that they did. Yeah, they went through and they were, thank you for including us on your playlist, along with bands like, it was Cannibal Corpse, Gojira, Carnifex, and then there were some other bands in there. And Carnifex actually shared it on their Instagram.
Yep.
And tagged the Kievel. It was really awesome. And, creating that community, not just with your fans, but with the other bands, it's a very powerful way to grow your band, and it's reciprocating.
And I see, like, I'm way too young to have been alive in those times, but the thrash scene got big off of tape trading. And building playlists is the same kind of interaction as tape trading. It's just way easier, way cheaper, and for some reason people don't take full advantage of it.
No, they don't.
Another thing, that's another secret weapon, the Facebook group Bandcamp Review Exchange that Sleeping Village Review started.
Oh yeah.
It's a really nice group where they come in, we drop like 15 codes for an album on Bandcamp, and if people listen, if they like it, they take a code, they leave a review. And I've done that for all of our releases for Alpha Bootis, even the old ones, and I got like, someone reviewed the album, bought the whole discography, bought us a t-shirt from that, and recommended us for like a spot on a radio show.
Nice.
And like now my Bandcamp page for Alpha Bootis has like 20 or 30 people under each album, and we have like 5 very good reviews, for everything. And it cost me like 15 Bandcamp codes, with, it's basically free. And I've been, grabbing a lot of music from that, leaving reviews for people. And it's just a really nice community. So also based on, people want reviews, people want free music. Let's pair these people together.
Etienne, can you put a link in the in my chat to the Sleeping Village thing? I want to send that over to Corey as well. Once
of course,
done.
Yeah. Cool. I'll go pick that up right now.
Cool, because I knew about it, but I've forgotten about it, and that's actually a good tip that you just gave right there.
Yeah, there's actually a publicist dropping every album he does PR for in there.
Tell him to fuck off and get out of the group. Who is it? No, I'm just kidding. Don't say. My competitive side comes out there. So for final questions here, we're going to talk for a minute here about Quebec. So can you kind of maybe talk for a second about what you see as being the differences between like the Quebec metal scene versus the regular metal scene in Canada, US, if there is anything?
Okay, so I know the Montreal one pretty well. So much technical death metal.
There's so
much prog. The nerd factor is just a bit higher in Montreal, I feel, and also, the big local bands are Gorguts and Cryptopsy, and Chris Donaldson is like the studio for metal in the city. So his influence gets felt all over the scene. There's been like a big spike of folk metal in Quebec for some time, but it's kind of died off. I felt it kind of died off everywhere. But the whole stoner doom and power metal resurgence that's like happening all over the US and Western Canada, I haven't seen it yet in Montreal, because I think the metal scene here is more like Voivod, Gorguts, Cryptopsy than, as good as those bands are. Like Unleash the Archer has, I feel, less, there are not very much bands in that style here in Montreal. It's a very weird scene because we're kind of isolated in a way, like culturally, and the metal scene is like one of the most it's one of the scenes that feels the most like the rest of America, whereas like the pop music scene is completely separated. We'll have the big shows and the big artists, but like the radio here is like half French or Quebec artists that nobody in the US knows. But yeah, the metal scene is very, very heavy, a lot of deathcore, but I think that's everywhere in America these days. And there's not a lot of hardcore and metal like crossing over in Montreal. Whereas like I've been to Philadelphia a lot, and these scenes are very intertwined now. Yeah. Here, the punks still hate the metalheads, and the metalheads still like have contempt for the punks, which is sad.
And so off of the music scene, there's just something I have to ask, because I am completely unfamiliar with this being an American, but tell me about poutine.
Okay, so poutine is the best party food. There is no better party food. It's just fries, cheese curds, and gravy. But then it can be
Do you call
whatever.
it gravy in Canada, or do you call it sauce? Because I've heard both.
Gravy. And maybe in Quebec, but in Canada, it's gravy. In Quebec and Canada are not the same country, I want to point out.
I call it sauce brune because that's how we say in French, but like brown sauce. But it's I picked up a lot of my English from Americans instead of Canadians, so I wouldn't know. Like I say y'all, and I'm from the north.
I say y'all too, and I'm from Oregon. So
yeah, to be fair, it's probably the best word. It's so inclusive. Everybody is included. Like, but yeah.
Or if you want to be extra fancy, all y'all.
Yes, all of y'all. So poutine, it's great because it's so like you can customize it. My favorite one is just poutine with like roasted veggies on top, like roasted peppers, onions, zucchini, and eggplant. Like that's my go-to. Or
like ratatouille poutine.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Really?
And then, but the real, like after a metal show at like 2 a.m. when you're walking home, because bars close at 3 a.m. here. Well, not normally. When there's an 8. Well, yeah, we have an 8 p.m. curfew now, and everybody feels like we're in Ontario. But
we don't have a curfew. I want to point out.
No, I know you don't. You don't.
Stopping us.
But yeah, so at 2 a.m. Oh, my camera died. Swap.
Yeah, but it died on a great freeze screen.
Yeah, that's a good frame.
That is a great frame. Oh, and now it's just fancy.
Yeah, that's my background for shows. All right. Should be back soon.
No.
Okay, sorry about that. So the best thing at 2 a.m. is poutine with 2 mirror eggs on top.
2 what?
Like just eggs, like fried eggs, but mirrored. So the yolk is runny, and then you poke the eggs, and the yolk runs into the fries, and it's like the best food. I don't drink, so I don't nurse a hangover with it, but people told me it's great for soak all the alcohol in your stomach. So yeah.
What is this called? What kind?
It's just poutine with eggs. There's like the best place to get that in Montreal is Chez Claudette, which is like a really traditional poutine place. It's like on the way. I usually walk from downtown to my house. It takes me like 40 minutes after shows. I'm a guy. I can walk at night at 2 a.m. And then I stop
can too. I'm a redhead. People know to stay away.
Yeah, they know the hex is coming if they don't. But yeah, so I walk home and I stop by, I grab a poutine and eat that on a park bench, and then like that's the Montreal post-show experience basically.
Sounds solid. Another follow-up, Curtis. I know you love to talk about poutine.
I actually don't, because I'm going to get too many questions about these different. I've never heard of egg poutine, so I'm going to leave it at that.
I'm sure there's like everything poutine.
Yeah. There's like poutine with guacamole. There's poutine with like anything. You can put anything on it because it's such a neutral base.
Fries.
The one thing is you can swap the sauce for like a pepper sauce instead of gravy, or a red wine sauce, and that's really good.
Oh, that just sounds fancy.
Yeah, it is. There's also like there's a place who does foie gras poutine, and that's really fancy. And there are places who do like elevated poutine. It's like burritos. You can get like
artisanal poutine.
Yeah, you can get like a $5 burrito, or you can get a $50 burrito.
All we KFC and McDonald's over here with the cheese and the gravy.
Yeah. Those are not too bad. Like the McDonald's poutine is not the best. A&W has good poutine.
They do, but the KFC is awful.
Oh, of course. I assume. but yeah, it's always imitated, never bested. The Quebec poutine. Canada always tries to say it's a Canadian dish, but we know better.
That's not.
Trying to steal your thunder.
Yeah,
well, that is all of my questions. Curtis, do you have any follow-ups?
Nothing today. No.
All right.
All right. Well, then party on, Curtis. Party on, Etienne.
Party on.